Hello folks, and welcome back to the channel to this performance guide for Skyrim VR Mad God Overhaul 3.5. Now, the reason why I am in this area is because always has been a point where every GPU struggled to push it to 90 frames per second, and we always have in this area a lot of frame rate drops. So what you see here is Skyrim VR completely maxed out, okay? And now I have to show you how many frames per second I get in this area if I do not apply the performance optimization that I am going to discuss in this video, okay? Now I'm gonna show you the performance overlay and, keep calm because it's gonna be shocking. Look at this. Whoa. I'm getting 42 FPS in this area with that terrible CPU frame time, which is really insane. I'm getting a 96% GPU utilization. And look at that, VRAM 19.5 gigabytes. I'm a 4090. Quite a bit of reprojection ratio, 29.7, 29.8, whatever, but doesn't matter. The CPU utilization about 51, 56, which is a little bit surprising, but I have never understood why that's the case in this area. But you can see it's a little bit of a mess. Okay, we're gonna work on this. Okay, and we're gonna get what we want to get. Target like 120 FPS, and we're going to discuss how this is possible to achieve. And also we're going to try to make it a little bit smoother without losing the visual fidelity. So I am now going to apply some settings and we're going to see what the performance is like changing from these settings to the new one, and then I'm gonna discuss how did I do that and how you can do it with changing the settings in MO2. And then obviously also there are other things you can do outside MO2. We're gonna discuss it, the settings in virtual desktop. We're gonna discuss the runtime. So this is hopefully a definitive performance guide. Hopefully I'm not gonna forget anything or about all you can do. The principles that I already explained in my previous video still apply, but clearly there are some changes in the way MO2 looks and also there are some other things, for example, in the interiors for 3.5 that you might want to change. While I'm talking about the community shaders light. Okay, this looks absolutely amazing, but I don't know in the recording how it's gonna look like, but when I move my head I see a lot of reprojection and I can see it here a little bit of too much. So another thing I have to mention here is that now I'm using Steam VR as a runtime, okay, and I'm running the Quest at the Quest 3 at the native resolution, so 100% resolution. Okay, so virtual desktop is set to godlike, and I don't have any automatic bitrate changes, and I don't have space warp, okay, or SSW as I called it in the previous video. Okay, my bitrate is around 200 megabit per second, and I am using now the HEVC 10-bit codec. Okay, so now I'm gonna change the settings and I'm gonna show you. So I'm gonna save the file. Right now. We're gonna save the game, and I'm gonna respawn now here with the setting changed, so you can see what actually happened after I applied my settings. So to switch from Steam VR runtime to Open Composite, you just have to make sure that these two VR performance kit are disabled. Okay, cast sharpening and FSR upscaling are disabled, and then you enable Open Composite XR. Okay, so I am back. So now I changed only one single setting. okay, and that setting is Open Composite. So by switching just the runtime from SteamVR to Open Composite, I am getting now, look, oh, boom, 52 frame per second, okay, 53 frame per second. I really literally changed only one tick in the box and enabling Open Composite. Already this one gave me over 10 frames per second more, but obviously this I didn't change any graphical level. You can see it here. You still have drops here, 41 to 40. I haven't changed anything else. This is completely maxed out, and I can already see a massive increase in performance. But now I'm gonna change another settings, you know, because little by little we have to get to what we want to achieve our target frame rate, which in this case should be around 60 FPS, okay? Because more than that is a little bit difficult, but we will see what we can do. So the next settings I'm gonna change is the grass quality level. Now it's set on high, and I'm going to put it on medium, because in my previous video I identified that the grass setting was one of the biggest performance hitter. Okay, so let's change this and see the difference in quality, you know, in appearance of the grass and into the performance in FPS. Bear with me 1 second. The next settings that you want to change, we said we have to change the grass density from high and bring it down to medium. So we disable this and we enable this. Okay, so now we have the grass settings on medium, and I can see that from 50 we increased to 56, 55, 56 FPS, okay, without doing much, just changing the tick in the box. So we gained about 5 or 6 FPS. It's a bit unstable, but you know, I'll turn myself over here. Before, when I turned this was about 40 FPS. Now it's about 50. So looking in that direction, we are doing the right thing. Visual quality, it doesn't seem to have changed a lot. Obviously there is less grass, I can see less grass, so because obviously there is an ini file that changes the grass density, but to be honest, the eye candy I think is still there. Remember, we have changed only the grass settings, all the other settings are maxed out. So we have the community shaders maxed out, we still have the Dyndolod maxed out, so the level of detail in the distance, still everything maxed out. Okay, so let's try to achieve the 60 FPS. Still, we still have some work to do, and here we have still some frame drops. We have 55, 56. So the next settings that I would change is perhaps the Dyndolod from quality to performance, and see if things change in this area like this. Okay, bear with me 1 second. So the next settings we would change is to reduce from Dyndolod output from quality to performance, and see if we get some increase in FPS in that area over there. Right, so okay, now look at this. We changed the Dyndolod from quality to performance, and we are almost there. We're touching the 60 FPS. Okay, that's insane, but we still we have some drops in 59. So I'm looking in the same direction here. Yeah, 61, 62. So at the moment we have grass on medium, Dyndolod on performance, okay, and we are using Open Composite. With only these 3 settings, we shifted from 40 FPS to 60 FPS. And this is also without without using space warp or SSW setting in virtual desktop. So we haven't touched any virtual desktop setting. This is purely MO2 settings, right? We still have some cards to play in MO2, and I think at the moment we don't have really any apparent visual change here. It still looks fantastic to me. So what I'm gonna try now is to change the community shaders from the maximum value, I think is high, to quality, and see whether I can get a stable 60 FPS without any drop in this area. The other settings to change now is to to shift from community shader from quality, which is the top value. Let's put it to balance and see. I wouldn't go lower than balance for this case. Right, okay guys, so now we have just changed the community shader setting from the quality to balance. Apology, I said something wrong before. I checked the MO2, and we can see a massive FPS increase. We were around just about 60, and now we are around 74, 75. Okay, yeah, with some drops here and there, but 77, as you can see, is much more smoother. We still have drops in the 60s, but I think it's okay and it's normal. Quality-wise, this seems quite nice, and at this point I think we should check out the interiors, because we should see whether inside the city of Whiterun we get this level of performance, and then we take it from there, because also there are some other settings in MO2 that we need to change. So let's see how then it looks like. To me this looks pretty good. I can see some difference in the perhaps shadows. Alright, so let me see. As you can see here, entering in Whiterun, we've got like 67, 68, 70 FPS, 74, 75, pretty good, considering that we don't have any space warp active. So we get even 80 frames per second right here. Right, now in Whiterun we got like a 60 FPS, but I know why, because I have activated a mod called More Trees in Cities, which looks extremely good, but obviously it has a massive performance impact. So to get to our nice and tidy 60 FPS, we're probably gonna have to disable this, okay? So if you can't manage to run it, then yes, you need to disable it, okay? Then we'll check the performance without the more trees in the cities. So, but let's go 1 second inside Dragonsreach, because we have to do another thing to check the performance in the interiors. And Dragonsreach is one of the most demanding area, let's say. We are now in Dragonsreach and performance is about 56 FPS. This is one of the most demanding areas in Whiterun in terms of lights. And now I'm gonna show you here what FPS we get. This is a light source. All these objects are light sources, so we get good performance. Not bad. But actually we can get a better performance if you're struggling with the frame rates. You shouldn't, but we are talking about in general here. So what we would do if we had to recover some FPS. So here, as you can see, it runs pretty well in the interiors, but yeah. So we can get drops into the 60s, 72, 77. We don't quite get 90 FPS, and that's the objective in the interiors, perhaps to get like 80 or 90 FPS. What I'm gonna do, it looks absolutely fantastic, this interior. Look at this. And in fact, here I have a massive drop in frame rate. Okay, so what I'm gonna do for the interiors is to disable the CS lights. Okay, and the other thing I can still do is to enable the space warp. Okay, so now I'm going to disable the mod that is called More Trees in Cities. Okay, more trees in cities, and I'm going to disable the CS lights to increase the performance in the interiors. Okay, and let's see how that pans out. Right, so as you can see, all the massive trees that were there disappeared. We get a frame rate of about 67, 66, with some drops that I don't understand why they happen. Okay, but we are around 60, let's say. Okay, 58, 62. This massive tree is still there, which is good. You know, but yeah, we do get a little performance increase thanks to that mod that is being disabled. Okay, but remember, we have made other changes, and now we're gonna see what the result is in the interiors. So I get 70%, 72, okay, 82 here, so it's pretty good. Let's see here. We still have a pretty good visuals, you know, nothing much changed. We reached the 90 FPS, which is our target frame rate. We did it. So, but obviously still drops. And let's go and see what changed for the interiors lighting. And as you can see, the glow on these soul gems completely is gone. All these objects are now not a source of light anymore. See, they don't emit light anymore. Okay, that, you know, some people don't like it, some people like it, but you see here, this powder over here, they were glowing before, they are not. Okay, so this is what the main changes are for if you disable that CS lighting. We didn't finish. Okay, so if you want to really have like a mega super smooth experience, there are other things that we need to do. Obviously, because you're not gonna get the same frame per second that as I do, because I have a 4090. But what I'm teaching you is the process to get the highest frame rate possible with your hardware, you know, without you know, compromising too much the visual quality. And as you can see, I actually didn't, but I have achieved the target frame rate. So what you can do then, if you want to get to the best frame rate possible, you can still reduce the quality of the community shaders from balanced to performance. Okay, that is gonna give you another bump in FPS, and we're gonna do that. So bear with me 1 second, and we're gonna change that into performance to see what is the actual impact. Okay, so the settings that we're going to change now are for those who have like a medium, low end hardware. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend to go lower than this for people who have high-end hardware, so please be aware of this. Okay, so you are going to change from community shaders balanced into community shaders performance. Okay, and I would suggest to change the grass on level on low. Okay, that's the thing you can do for MO2 perspective. Okay, you can also try perhaps to reduce the virtual desktop resolution. You should go into the streaming settings of a virtual desktop, and then go into change from, for example, godlike, from, you know, to put on ultra and high. Okay, so now I changed the the community shaders on low, and we've got also the grass on low. Clearly, community shaders on performance mode is the default setting that comes with MGO. Okay, so don't feel too bad about it if you change it from balance to performance. So, I mean, don't feel bad. But the quality of the grass is significantly reduced, and in this area, still we can't really get to 90, can't we? No, we have like 87, 86. We still, even the 4090 in this point, maybe I have problem with cheap CPU or something like that. But anyway, we get like 80 frames per second. Okay, now we're gonna go into Whiterun and in Dragonsreach to see what changed. The appearance here, the impact on visuals is quite significant here. I can see a big difference into the look of the game, but it is smooth nonetheless. So it's really smooth. So let's go into Whiterun. As you can see, we have like 84. Still drops in 76, but yeah, more than 80. This guy's coming again. So here we have like still 67, 50 FPS. It didn't change really much, doesn't it? Because we are getting a little bit limited in the things we can do to increase performance, and this game is not as optimized as you would expect. So we have about 70 frames per second, 84 here. Yeah, it looks pretty much, pretty good. Textures are very nice, and the light reflects on this very well. Pretty cool. It's we. Depending on where you are, you can get 90 frames per second. We don't have the CS Lightning enabled and all that kind of stuff. But now, I think, you could keep to godlike again. The resolution or the texture, I think, is already a very smooth experience, and with these settings, you should be able to get a decent frame rate, even if you have a video card that is less powerful than a 4090. Okay, so I think the other thing that remains to do is to enable space warp and re-enable some of the settings to check whether we can increase the visual quality without compromising, basically. Okay, so now the thing I'm going to do is to change the settings in virtual desktop, enabling the synchronous space warp. This is what I did. It was disabled before. You go here, you go into streaming settings, and then you go always enabled. Okay, so I keep the resolution at godlike because I have a 4090, but obviously you need to actually regulate yourself. You be realistic about your hardware here and use the resolution that is more appropriate for you, because this VR graphics quality, it will apply a sort of super sampling to your resolution. So be careful about this. Don't stack up resolution multipliers. Okay, good. Then you have to change the settings in MO2. Let's bring back the setting in MO2 that we changed before. So because we enabled the synchronous space warp, I think we should bring back these settings the way they were before. So community shaders, I would suggest for higher end hardware to put it on balanced. Okay, CS Lite obviously enabled. I would keep Dyndolod on quality, and the grass density, I will keep it on medium. Okay, just to have the smoothest experience. There is another thing you could do here, which is to enable the VR FPS stabilizer preset, the depth culling, which can give you a gain in FPS. But yeah, as the model list creator suggests, it can give you occasional flickers. I don't like that, so I don't recommend it. Okay, so I'll keep it to VR FPS stabilizer preset TAA tweaks. Okay, the default settings. Okay, I will add back more trees in the cities and see what the results is. Okay, I'm enabling Dyndolod output to quality. And yeah, let's see how that goes now. Okay, right, so we put back quite a bit of detail. So we now are on CS on balanced, and then we have like the grass density on medium, and also we put back the CS lighting, and the level of detail, you can see it from the grass, is insane, is really good. And also we enabled finally the space warp, and I am expecting basically a frame rate that doesn't change, because in the as we saw before, we managed to get with these settings a constant FPS of 60. Okay, when you enable space warp, you can decide whether you want to go for a target frame rate of 120 or a target frame rate of 90. Okay, in this case I selected a target frame rate of 90 because I'm expecting that this is gonna pretty much stay the same all the way through, and to be honest, it feels much smoother. I think that the synchronous space warp is still a strong recommendation, even for MGO 3.5. As you can see, the frame rate drops are not much. Sometimes we have it, but mostly it stays on 90 FPS, and there's not so much change. Now I want to see, because I re-put again the more trees in cities, I want to see inside Whiterun how that is affected. Right, so let's start from here. As you can see, still we've got 90 FPS with occasional drops, but you see, completely stable, insanely stable. Okay, so what can I say? We got some little drops from time to time, but I think this is the way to go, really. There's nothing that suggests that I need to do something else. I think the space warp is really necessary, but now we're gonna see inside the Dragonsreach how does it look like, but it feels like a 90 FPS is constant, is really good option here. Okay, so we have here 90 FPS and a little drop, 82, 90 constant. Really good. I don't see much of a reprojection. Like, I don't understand why people find that enabling space warp is really bad, but I think feels good. You're not playing a competitive game here, you're playing a single player game, which you can compensate for the slight increase in latency. Look at this, again, CS lighting activated. You can see this here, nice light sources. Let me see this. Is this a real one? No, it's this one. Okay. See, pretty cool. 90 FPS. That's the way. The other thing I could try is to change perhaps the streaming to 120 FPS and see whether it's smoother. Probably it is. I'm not expecting much change here in terms of stability of the FPS. Okay, so at this point we need to talk about lower end systems, okay, because this is important to allow people with cars that are not 4090 or 4080s to enjoy this game. So there is another option that I didn't touch, that I didn't mention, which is called VRAMr, okay? VRAMR, okay? This is something I have not tried yet. So VRAMr, what VRAMr does is to basically downscale the textures of the smaller objects, okay, not the bigger objects like the mountains, the dragons, so that they don't get downscaled, and that will save VRAM for people that have like 8 gigs or 10 gigs of VRAM available. Okay, so that's another thing. And questions that I have all the time is about, oh, my game looks blurry. So the things that you have to look for is the bit rate, okay, that you are streaming to your headset. Okay, in this case I have a 200 megabit per second as a bit rate. Okay, I'm using the codec EHEVC 10-bit. Okay, you can try to play with the codecs. Okay, another thing is like the automatic bitrate should be disabled. Otherwise, basically, you're gonna get a lower bitrate that you see there. So another things that you can do is to, press the end key on your keyboard, and here you're gonna have a lot of other settings that you can play with. Okay, so you can, for example, use a different upscaling method. I would recommend Nvidia DLAA, but you can try other and see what is the difference here. And then you can disable the screen space reflection. Okay, then you can to gain some frame rates as well. For example, here in extended material you can disable the shadows or the extend shadow, and you can disable the volumetric lighting if it gives you a little bit of problems here. But yeah, so that's the changes that you can actually do. And now I'm going to show you again, after I enabled something else here, how that pans out in real performance terms. But I have to reboot, so bear with me. Because I also noticed that I can get pretty much in 90 frames per second stable, I'm gonna put back on the community shaders on quality, okay, and see what changes. And I'm gonna push a little bit more the grass density again to high, okay, and see what happens. And I am going to, so Dyndolod, I put it on quality, but now I'm going to put the streaming, the VR frame rate to 120 as a target and see what happens with space warp enabled. Okay, so what I did now is to max out everything, okay, completely again, to go to grass density on high. I put back the community shaders on quality and all the kind of stuff. And I also kept enabled the space warp to see what happens. Okay, what happens? What I can see here already, that I have an inconsistent frame rate. I do have like 100 frame rate FPS over here, 190, 103, but this is well far for being a 120 FPS constant in this area. Okay, so whilst in the previous case, when I set the frame rate target to 90, it was nice and steady, and I think in terms of smoothness, perhaps that is a better thing. Now, the FPS here is significantly different now, all maxed out. Remember, we are talking about all maxed out. So it's not bad, it's perfectly playable, but this is just to show you what happens. Yeah, so as you can see here, inconsistent frame rate. Doesn't really change much to put under 20 as a target frame rate, because it simply doesn't get there. It doesn't get there. So this was just to show you what happened, okay? If we change those settings, all maxed out. But I think the optimal settings are those that I showed you before, where you can get like a consistent frame rate. Here, look, with the fog here, we are getting quite a bit of a massive drop, did we? Okay, so I think so the last resort option is to use VRAMr, okay? I'm going to put the link in the description for the tutorial on how to do that, because if I do another tutorial, I think there's a chance that I introduce some mistakes and you may get it wrong. The tutorial that is already online is perfect, and if you follow that, you should get also another bump in performance. You're not going to lose any detail of the mountains or the big textures like the dragons. So all the textures that are touched are the smaller one, which, to be honest, they don't need probably a 4K resolution. And with VRAMr you can choose the level of downscaling that you can apply. So the only thing that you will need to use VRAMr is space on your SSD, because that is gonna make basically, I think, a copy of your texture. And I don't know what it does, so don't ask me. The expert is the guy who made the tutorial on VRAMr. Okay, so anyhow, I think this is all I wanted to tell you about this new performance guidance. I hope that it helps you in understanding how you can change your settings without compromising too much the visual quality. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. VR Dead signing out.